with just such a long rifle. Not going to drop it on the ground. These are pricey magazines. Alright guys, today we got something quite special, at least to me. This is a FEG, Hungarian made, FEG HD18 SVD Dragunov. FEG made the company made this. If you know, you know. Basically, they copied the Russian TIGR SVD really well. So HD18 stands for Hungarian Dragunov 2018 probably. This is as close as you can get to the actual Russian Dragunov. They cloned it really well. So from the full-length barrel to the modern receiver, the slab side, and the Type 3 smooth slab pattern, dust cover, top cover, and but it doesn't come with this furniture. This is actually a Russian surplus furniture. I replaced it. Originally it came with like a wood commercial furniture. Do not like that, so I swapped it off to this and this one. This is really hard to find. This is a surplus Russian military flash hider with the bayonet lug and flash hider. You can find these for, if you can find them, I think they're usually running about around 700 or so. They're really expensive. You can find the civilian versions without the lug for cheaper, maybe 500, 400 maybe. But I decided to go with the ones with the bayonet lug for this complete military mil-spec clone look. So SVD is sorry for the wind, by the way. It's a really windy day, 20 miles per hour constant with 40 miles, 30 miles to 40 gust. So sorry for the wind. I hope you can hear me. So the Dragunov SVD, I've uploaded some of my previous video on the Chinese one. I finally got well, I had this one, but I was just trying to source the parts to convert this to mil-spec. I do have a couple of these. This one's the most recent acquisition. This one will be treated as a shooter. The newer recent import of these, I'm not sure if you can tell, but the finish on this, it's more of a blued finish. It's not a black painted mil-spec finish. The magazine is Russian surplus with a kind of a AK typical AK painted finish, appliance, epoxy sort of deal. But the receiver and the dust cover, entire gun pretty much, minus the bulk carrier, is blued. So I'll be sending this out to be painted with Russian paint. Okay, I've shot this already at longer ranges. I'm here at the 150 yard range, shooting at C-zone. Let's take a few shots. It's a very, very long rifle. I think it is longer than a Mosin-Nagant 9130. It does lock open on the last shot. Okay, and that was only 10 round. It comes with 3 10 round magazines, I believe. Again, really almost 100% Russian clone correct, if you know what I mean. The magazine's kind of pricey. In the US, you can find them for maybe 200 or so. 150 if you're lucky, but yeah, it's a really expensive rifle to begin with. So on this gun, compared to my Chinese, the recoil is softer, although it is still very overgassed. There's, I guess, the gas port smaller for these guns when compared to the Chinese NDM86. I was talking to my friends online, and we came up with the idea of, actually it was my idea, but because it's a short stroke piston design, the piston itself you can find spare ones for $50 or so, new stock pistons. You can dremel on the face of the piston to make it sort of a ghetto K&S adjustable gas piston pretty much. As you dremel it off, there's less material on the surface of the piston, so obviously more gas will be bypassing the piston face to lower the velocity on the bulk carrier. I did that for the NDM. I dremeled off a quarter of the piston face to make it softer shooting. On this one, I don't have to do anything, and it already ejects the brass about the same as the NDM86 with ghetto my dremeled piston. So it's gassed pretty well as is, but I can do more. I haven't dremeled on this one. I mean a spare. I wouldn't dremel the original parts. I would buy a spare. That's what I'm recommending to you. Buy a spare and dremel on that instead. Okay, let's do another mag. Okay. Similar to the NDM86, the accuracy for these rifles are actually pretty good. I haven't published the accuracy study on this one yet, but you can check out my Chinese NDM86 accuracy video. With that one, the full metal jacket it likes, it was doing around 1.5 to 1.8 MOA, 10 round groups at 100. For this one, using the same FMJ, it was 2 MOA, but it does like the LRBHO OTM 174 grain OTM, I think it was. It was doing 1.2 to 1.5 MOA, which is, I would say, at least for what I'm normally see from all the rifles, I'm really happy with this. I'm realistic with my accuracy studies, as you can probably see if you know my channel. I do 10 round groups, multiples. I try to be realistic about my tests. So anyways, so I'm pretty impressed with this. There's no doubt this was ahead of its time. Back then, when it came out in the Dragunov, I think it was 1960s, 63 or so. So in the 60s, it was pretty ahead of its time, compared to other sniper rifles at the time. People will say this is DMR, but I mean, for the accuracy, 1.2 to 1.5 MOA. Yeah, I guess it's not like my accuracy international. It's not 0.6 MOA 10 round groups, but 1.2 to 1.5 10 round groups. 9 shots of the 10 being 1.2. I would say that's plenty good for even for snipers. So I'm very excited to get this one. I'm really glad we can get these in, even though these are 8,000. After conversion, you're looking at 9,000 jelly beans. It is really expensive, but this is one of my all-time favorite looking guns. So there's a lot of really good looking guns out there. I like them for my objective and subjective reasons. I don't agree with how much they should cost in the US at least, but I'm just happy to get these nonetheless. Sorry for the wind again. On the stock here, you probably see I have a limb saver, or a clone of limb saver. This is because, one, to reduce recoil. That's, it's always nice to do that on full caliber. This is 7.62 by 54R. The length of pull on the Dragunovs are really short. This is from the trigger to the butt pad, without the rubber piece here. It's only 12 inches, which is shorter. I think it's shorter than AKMs. So with this much barrel in front of you and such a short length of pull, it feels really awkward without the rubber piece here. So I added this on for for recoil reason and for ergo reason. Okay, let's shoot some more. Okay, I'll keep the magazine in here for the look. Drop the bolt, empty chamber. Something I want to mention about this. Oh, turn this on. On the stock, the plastic recent production SVD plastic stocks, the polymer stocks, sorry. You might be able to see this, maybe. The pistol grip is actually angled. Not sure if you can see that. It's crooked to one side. Not sure if you can see that. I think you can. It's crooked to this side. I think that's for right hand shooting. Normally, naturally, you kind of want to cant the gun. So if you're right-handed, you want to cant the gun this way. Naturally, you want to do that. Just something. It's a habit for most shooters. And to avoid that, to avoid canting the entire gun, they make the pistol grip a little bit canted. So naturally, it's easier to keep the gun leveled. Because for snipers, you kind of don't want your gun rotated a certain way. Otherwise, the ballistics for that round would be impacted, of course. So I thought that's funny. They would do something like that. The grip itself, I don't know if you can see that again. Probably not. Let me take the magazine off of the gun. You can probably see that. The grip, it's angled, and the grip is shifted to the right side. So, which I thought is kind of interesting. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah, I'm really excited with this one. Finally, a really close to a Russian spec rifle with a full-length barrel. Beautiful gun. Would I pick this over Accuracy International Arctic Warfare? I don't know. I have both. I plan on keeping both. Would I pick it over PSG-1? Yes, I would. Not for performance, but for the look. I think this one looks better. And I definitely would pick this over Walther WA-2000. So I'm glad to have something obtainable. One of my bucket list guns. So, yeah. Expensive, but I think it's worth it. So something about the SVD magazine I don't think that many people will talk about. It's the how, of course, this is a rimmed round. 54R is rimmed, so you're not supposed to have, as you can probably imagine, you'll have a problem with one round getting caught in front of the bottom one, like that. So the Dragunov magazine is designed so that you don't have to load it from the front. You don't have to do this, load it from the front towards the back. You can just load it just like any other double stack, double feeding magazine. There's a cut on the magazine which is wider towards right here, where you can allow the rimmed cartridge to be pushed down, and then you just push it back. So each of the rimmed rounds will not interfere with the next one from the bottom. So, and you cannot push it down at the rear here of the feed lip. There's something else I want to quickly mention on the Hungarian-made FEG HD18, Hungarian made. It did clone the Russian spec barrel as well. Notice on the neck here, there's a step towards the bottom, right before the taper here. There's a ring compared to a unfired round without the ring. Notice there's a ring. This is for Russian civilian chambering or Russian civilian regulation. They required this chamber to have the step here once expended and extracted from the gun. The authorities would know the case fired would be fired from a sporter rifle, such as the Tigers and Saigas in Russia. So for some reason, the Hungarians decided to clone this as well, which there's no reason for them to clone this, but they did anyways. Hint, they're not actually Hungarian. I'm hinting the fact that they are Russian made, and this is probably one of the more telltale signs to confirm that. And there's no reason for anyone to clone something that's only for Russian civilians, but they did it anyways, which to many, such as myself, many owners were speculating that these are actually just remarked FEG. The FEG HD18s are actually Russian Tigers from Europe for European market, and they just decided to remarket for US market. Because for a while, and even today, the Russian Tigers they are in a way banned by both sides. Well, I guess from the Russian side, because I think from what I know, the Tigers are not illegal per se, but the Russian authority, they decided not to sell it to the US. So I thought this is something interesting to share. Okay, something else I want to talk about. It's a furniture set. The SVD, the newer production SVD from Russia, will have the polymer plastic furniture like this. And one of the downside to the wood furniture, as seen in my NDM86 video, the cheek piece right here, it's not integrated with the buttstock and the pistol grip. It's a separate piece that you can detach if you want to use the irons on this. You do have irons similar to an AK, front hooded, front side post, and rear letter sight, engine sight, just like the AK. On this one, you can just rotate out of the way like that. It rotates three, all the way around, doesn't matter left or right, but it does lock in place here, so you can access your rear sight and use it as a backup. That's pretty interesting. The iron sight, it's not sighted in. I would, but right now it is not sighted in because the front sight post here, it's not standard AK front sight post. I don't have a tool for this, unfortunately. It's like I need to use like a 2-prong sort of tool to that to adjust. So, but we'll try it anyways. So buttstock, the cheek piece just rotates out of the way. I haven't shot it like this before. How off? Oh yeah, it's really off. So the front sight is, let's see, it's half target low. So I kind of just have to imagine a front post being up there within the hood. But yeah, it's doable. So I'm at the 150 yard range. With irons, it's definitely easier than using the 4X, so painted target, of course. And one thing about the SVD that's different to an AK, everything's different, but something that's interesting to me is the spring-loaded handguard here. The retainer here has a U-shaped leaf spring. It keeps tension on the handguard. Apparently it's semi-free floated. I don't know what that means. I think it's either free floated or not free floated. But let's see if I can magazine out. Let's see if I can show you guys if it's not too hot. Yeah, it's okay. All right. So retainer similar to an AK. Comes off. And there's a keeper here. Not sure if you can see that. There's a keeper here. So after the main retainer is off, you still have the two halves of the handguard still retained in place. So you do have to pull back and out on the handguard like that. So that's one of the pieces. Let me just put it on the ground here. You might be able to see that. Yeah, you can see that. So the purple looking piece here, or the reddish, that's the leaf spring to keep the handguard in place. Constant force applied to the handguard, and apparently that's gives it semi-free floating capability or feature, however you want to call that. I don't know about that. From my testing, it does shift. Point of impact does shift if I move my sandbag around from the rear to the front. Not a whole lot, but it's something. And you can see the, I hope you can see that. It's a bit dark. Let me turn this on. Yeah, you can see the long short piston here, short stroke piston. So that just moves maybe an inch or so. Strikes the bolt carrier on the other side here. Not gonna see you, not gonna see it here, but an adjustable gas regulator. Position 1 is normal, and there's a 2 marked. I think you can see that marked 2 for adverse situation condition. So, all right, and that is factory original to the FEG HD18s. You don't have to buy a separate piece like the older import Russian TIGRs. Let me put this together, put it back. It's easier for me to do it resting on my feet, so be out of frame for a little bit here. All right, so the keeper here, that one right here, you can see that the handguard just keeps it in place, in position by that, and then you put the main retainer on. And this is something you can access without taking everything apart from like the AK. You do, for the AK, you do have to take off the gas tube, then you have access to the retainer for the handguard. Not so much for SVD.